Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, Time to Shine. And today I wanted to talk about why diets are dumb. So I'm gonna say it again for the people in the back. Diets are dumb. All right. So let's think about this for a minute. And this is coming from somebody who has fully recovered from an eating disorder. So when I think of diets, I feel like there are two categories of people that you end up, basically that end up emerging from diets and diet culture. And I want you to listen to what I'm saying and actually think about it because I feel like this is fact. And I feel like this is something that the society does not talk about because how dare us disrupt diet culture and all the money that they make off of people, mostly women, and our bodies, trying to make us the consumers of diet culture and all that has to offer, all of the money that they can literally make off of us, as opposed to teaching people what it means to actually properly nourish your body and love your body and have a relationship to where you are giving it the proper nutrition that it needs and deserves in order to function at an optimal level. Like that needs to be the norm. That needs to be what our society is telling people to do. Not, oh hey, did you try this diet? Oh hey, did you try that diet? What about a GLP-1? Don't even get me freaking started on GLP-1s. That's for another time. But anyways, back to diet. You have two options from diet culture. All right, you have the person that goes on a diet, and I think we all have read about this, seen it. Maybe it is us or whatnot. All right, so you have one person, they start a diet. All right, so they're on the diet, they lose some weight. They can't stay on the diet because diets typically involve restricting to some way, shape, or form. And then what happens? Has anybody ever heard the word yo-yo dieter? Yeah, so they end up failing with the diet and then they gain more weight than they had previously had. All right, so that's one category. That's like from what occurs from being on a diet. Then you have the second category, which I feel like people don't talk about this at all. And I think that's probably because a lot of anorexic people or people that have eating disorders are not vocal about their experiences because there's so much shame associated with eating disorders in general. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because I don't have any shame left. That is my true freedom. I've had an eating disorder for a majority of my life. It was horrific. I fully recovered by myself and I created a life of joy that I 100% love now. So that's why I'm doing these videos. And if you would like to check out more videos on my channel, they're primarily focused around eating disorder recovery as well as like shining bright and what that means to me and basically creating a life of abundance, because when you are stuck within the guise of an eating disorder, you are not experiencing a life of joy. All right, you are essentially being controlled by an eating disorder, and I don't care if that is 10% that the eating disorder is occupying within you. What you want is a life of abundance, and a life of abundance comes from full recovery, not having an eating disorder. And basically, I mean, if you think about it, like having a loving, respectful, peaceful relationship with this thing being your body, this thing that houses your spirit that you are going to be in until you're not anymore. All right, like we need to start shifting the focus on loving and respecting ourselves and our bodies and everything that our body does for us. And that goes for, you know, bodies not working at an optimal level. Like if you have chronic kidney disease, if you're on dialysis, if you have an autoimmune disease, if you've had surgeries, if there's things going on that are outside of your control and your body is, you know, unfortunately suffering those effects, well, that doesn't mean that we still shouldn't be showing our bodies, you know, this beautiful thing that houses our spirit until we're not here anymore, love and respect, and treating it with just, well, treating it like you value it, like you appreciate it. Like that's where I want the shift to go. I don't want it to be this diet nonsense of like, oh yeah, I want to lose a couple of pounds. Like, no, dude, what you want is just to have like this thing where you take care of yourself, where you nourish yourself properly, where you focus and make sleep a priority, where you make time with yourself priority, where you make building a relationship with yourself priority, where you make doing the things that you love and enjoy a priority. And you know what? When you do all of those things and you put yourself first and you have that relationship with yourself, you will show up better in every single aspect of your life. Like the relationship that you have with your spouse, your friends, your kids, your career, your finances, your everything. Literally, the relationship that you have with yourself is fundamental for you just having a life that you can navigate through, where you are just abundant. And that's not to say that hardships don't come up. And, you know, with the case of having chronic health issues, and believe me, like I fall into that, okay, like chronic with acute, that stuff still is there, that stuff still happens, but this relationship that you have with yourself makes you so much stronger and so much better abled to manage those situations. And also, you know, I'm not trying to be like one day, but we are all aging, okay? We are all in a body that is going to get older, and one day we die. And a very, very large majority of humans do end up with some kind of disease. So you want to have that established foundational relationship with yourself to where if/when that day comes, you are so secure and you have been taking care of yourself and you have been evolving and developing this relationship so much that when something comes at your health and it's compromised, well, you've got the tools. Like you're ready and you're up for the challenge. Is it fun when this happens? No. Do I enjoy having an acute flare with my health? No, I absolutely hate it. But because I have this relationship with myself and I trust myself, I respect myself, and, you know, just all of the things, I'm able to navigate through these difficult medical situations easier than when I didn't have that relationship. And when I didn't have that relationship with myself was when I had an eating disorder. So the relationship that I've cultivated with myself came through me first like recovering from the eating disorder fully, and then kind of like adjacent to that and during the same time is when I started to actually like learn how to like and love myself and create the relationship with myself. And anyways, got a little off topic right there, but back to the two types of dieters. Okay, so we explained the first one, got the first one where they diet and it's a yo-yo situation and they end up putting on the weight. Okay, well the second one that I was getting at is the population of eating disorders. That's what happens to the other percentage of people that go into this diet culture. You start a diet, you go into energy deficit, and something in your brain is literally like, oh, I'm good at this. And that's your trajectory. So you just maintain that. And that goes towards the development of eating disorders because you are really, really good at dieting. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I could diet better than anybody. Honestly, I was fantastic at having an eating disorder. Give me freaking A+, gold star, like, bro, I rocked it. Is that something that I want to be proud of? Is that something that I want to be like, yay, I did it? No, absolutely not. And actually, when I was going through recovery, that was kind of some fuel to my fire because I'm like, dude, you're really good at having an eating disorder. So I bet if you actually like use all the tools that you've learned and you actually start to implement them and do the work and go towards recovery, like you can be really good at not having an eating disorder. You can find other things in your life that you're really good at. You just have to do the work. So that's what I did. So now I'm really good at being a, healthy individual where I love and trust, respect myself, and have the opportunity to tell other people my story. And hopefully this will assist someone at some point in time to know that they also can fully recover from an eating disorder. Diets, they're dumb. You're literally playing with two extremes. You're playing with the extreme of dieting, which is restriction, And some people cannot tolerate restriction, right? That's actually the normal response. Let me say that again. It's the normal response to not tolerate restriction. So these people that go on a diet and they restrict and then they can't sustain that anymore, so then they start eating again. And then what do? They gain weight. Yeah, that's normal because you just put your body in a level of restriction. So your body is like confused, right? So it's like, oh, Jesus, you just starved me. So now I need to gain this weight back and hold on to it because I don't know if you're going to do that again. And this is like your body trusting, like, dude, I don't trust you. So I'm going to hold on to this weight because I don't know if you're going to put me into famine again. Now with the eating disorder population that emerges from the diet culture, well, that's the same thing, right? That's their body's response to restriction. That was my body's response to restriction. My body's response to restriction was like, okay, she's not gonna eat. Let's make her like only think about food all of the time. That's like eating disorder stuff, right? Because you're so good at restricting, you're not taking in the calories, you need to take in the calories, like you need that for survival. But the eating disorder that I think is like there's a genetic component for sure, and there's the mental disorder component with the eating disorder as well. So you have this other group of people where they do the restriction, right? And they can restrict sometimes for years, sometimes for decades, sometimes for longer than that. And then when a person with an eating disorder is going into recovery, well, it's the same thing. You've been restricting for so long, that's why you're going to gain the weight. Like, first off, you need to because nutritional rehabilitation and whatnot, but also, you know, a lot of people get worried because it's like, oh, the weight comes to my middle, that kind of stuff. Like, it's, in my experience, people are very afraid of weight there. That was also me personally. And you have to stop and think about it because, okay, it's the exact same thing, right? You've been restricting for so long, you start eating again. Your body, first off, your metabolism's slower because you've been restricting and your body doesn't know what to like do with this. You're taking in this nutrition, so it's like, I'm gonna hold on to this because I don't know, like, what's the stability? Like this, she could start restricting again and then here I am without anything. Like, I need this. So that's why the body holds on to it. So when you go through the process of eating disorder recovery, like, yes, if you're malnourished, if you've been restricting and you start eating the things, you're gonna gain weight. We all do. It's completely normal. Let me say that again. It is completely normal. It is appropriate. It is literally the body's appropriate response through going through energy deprivation to gain weight, to store the weight, because it doesn't know if it's going to like go through another famine. So then you have to continue to eat. Even when you're having that eating disorder, you know, telling you all the things like, see, I told you if you eat, you're going to gain weight. You're always going to be like this. It's just going to get worse and you know, everything that the eating disorder will say when the weight gain starts to happen. You have to push through that. You have to continue to eat. And what you want to, what you want is to break the neurological ties that you have like with the eating disorder. So you want to get to the place where you're not having like the mental of the eating disorder as well, because just because someone is physically recovered and they're nutritionally rehabilitated, that does not mean that the eating disorder is not running rampant up here still. So, I mean, this is kind of the thing where it's like, you literally can have an eating disorder at any size. And one of the worst spots that I was ever in, like during all the pseudo recoveries that I did and the relapses and all that crap, was when I was physically weight restored, but I hadn't done any of the work up here. So it's like, yeah, I've restored my body. I don't have like an eating disorder in that sense, but the eating disorder is so mental that it was all still up here. So if you're asking yourself, like, why do I keep relapsing? That's why, because it's the mental work that needs to get done. And, personal opinion with a lot of these inpatient treatment programs and just programs in general for eating disorder recovery, they don't focus on the nutritional, or they don't focus on the mental rehabilitation that needs to happen alongside of the physical rehabilitation. And I've heard so many stories where people will go to an inpatient setting and literally all they care about, they being like the physicians and the, people on site, the insurance, everybody who controls that inpatient setting situation, all they care about is the number. Okay. You know who else cares about the number? The freaking eating disorder cares about the number. So we need to get the number out of the equation. Just because someone is now stepping on a scale and they weigh a certain number, that does not mean that they are recovered. That means that they did part of the hard work with nutritional rehabilitation and eating the food and restoring their body and getting it back to a state of functionality and, working towards homeostasis. But that does not mean that they are recovered from the eating disorder. So then what happens in this situation where these people are at an inpatient setting and they're only focused on the number? Well, then they discharge them because, well, you don't look like you have an eating disorder anymore. I mean, who's heard that, honestly? I've actually had doctors tell me that, well, you don't look like you have an eating disorder. And I'm like, oh my God, well, you don't look like a stupid idiot, but evidently I was wrong. So that might have been a little hateful. Anyways, I get a little ramped up about this if you cannot tell. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is where there is lack in the eating disorder recovery community is the mental work that comes in with eating disorder recovery. So that has to do with the rewiring, creating new neural pathways to get you to a recovered state. Because just because you look like you're recovered does not mean that you are recovered. And just look at the number of people who relapse. Use me as an example. I've had an eating disorder since I was 11-ish years old. Okay, I don't call myself fully recovered until I was 33. Do you know how many times I tried to recover in between those stages? And I did recover. And then I would relapse. And then I would recover. And then I would relapse. And then I'd be pseudo recovered. And then I'd relapse. I honestly, more times than I can count. It's not really important to me anymore, but just know it was a lie. That's a large time span. And the reason why I say I was not fully recovered until I was 33 was because I had realized before that, when I had hit rock bottom before then, and I really thought that I was going to die. And I utilized hitting rock bottom to actually listen to myself, me, and hey, I don't want to die. And I was like, oh my God, we actually have to do something. And that is me simplifying it extremely. But anyways, I realized at that time, it was just an epiphany. And I'm like, oh my God, the missing component in this whole equation of why you have not stayed recovered is, girl, you're the missing component. You don't have a relationship with yourself. That's why you keep deferring back to this stupid freaking eating disorder relationship that you have. Because I'm not trying to hate on you, and this is me talking to me, I'm not trying to hate on you, but the reason why it's been so hard is because the relationship that you've had all of these decades has been with the eating disorder, not with you. Every year that I was with the eating disorder and I was doing everything that the eating disorder wanted me to do, and I was following its rules and its rituals and all of its guidelines to keep it happy and thriving, well, at the same time, it's taking away the relationship that I had with myself. And I was so young that, I had, as a little girl, I had a relationship with myself. And it's not like the eating disorder just appeared one day and it was I'm gonna rob you of everything that you like and boop, here I am. No, that took time too. That's the other thing that people don't understand is, as the relationship with the eating disorder evolves and enhances and its demands get more severe, and I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that's that has said that the ante wasn't ever upped, because that's the thing with an eating disorder. Enough is never enough. And like the end goal of the eating disorder is death. Like it's not there to get you what you want. Like it tricks you in that way because it's a coping mechanism. And at least it was for me, like it was a coping mechanism. I didn't know how to deal with stress. I didn't know how to deal with anxiety. I didn't know how to deal with life outside of what the eating disorder had to offer me. So my eating disorder would be like, hey, you know what would make this better? And you know, me, I'm like, what? And it's like, don't eat. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think you're right. And that's just kind of like how it evolved. And it would be like, hey, you know, it would make this even better. Like you're, you know, I can help you right now. Do you know what the solution is? And I'd be like, what? And it would be like, I want you to exercise to the extreme. And then tomorrow I want you to go harder. And I'd be like, okay, because I didn't have that relationship in myself to where I could see what was happening. Whereas now, and when I was going through recovery and I was like, oh, I know what you are. You're freaking enemy number one. Like you're here. Your mission is to first rob me of all my joy, which you have done. Congratulations on that eating disorder. And then second is to kill me. Like I see that very clearly now. I have been aloof to the situation and I was not aware that that was your mission, but now I understand. I understand your assignment. And that's when I was like, okay, this needs to be coming from me. I'm going to have to start a relationship with myself. So enemy number one who wants to kill me, I'm actually going to have to start fighting for myself. Let me say that again. Start fighting for myself, not with myself. I was fighting for my life against the eating disorder who was trying to kill me. So I was building up this relationship that I hadn't had with myself for so long. And that, like I said, I realized was a missing component. That's where I had always failed in that regard. With all of my previous recoveries that had led to a relapse, like creating the relationship with myself is where I had failed. So then that started looking like utilizing different tools, you know, like I got feisty, man. Like I was talking back to the eating disorder. The eating disorder, like because I was viewing it as enemy number one and like a literal separate entity from me, because I decided like I'm love, okay? Like I'm love. I'm here to experience this life, enjoy this life. I'm sick of being controlled by this eating disorder. So I started utilizing tools like self-talk and talking back to the eating disorder. And basically, like what recovery is in a nutshell is you have to do the exact opposite of what the eating disorder wants you to do 100% of the time. So the eating disorder, let's just say, for example, was like, I want you to go work out now. And I'd be like, no, I can't. And I went through a very, very long period of my life where working out was not an option because my brain had made those connections with the eating disorder of like working out was associated with the eating disorder. It took a very long time for me to separate the two. And like now, as a recovered person, I work out and it's fine. It's not eating disorder related. It's because, well, I love my body. I want to focus on my strength, my little baby muscle. And yeah, like exercise is an important component of overall health. Now, exercising when you have an eating disorder is detrimental because you're not allowing your body to like recover from the eating disorder. And I used exercise as a means to like basically compensate for things that I would eat. So it was not a healthy relationship. You have to go through a period, and maybe I'll do a separate video on this, but you have to, basically with everything with eating disorder recovery is you have to go through a period where your brain can completely separate from you and the eating disorder. So you don't want any ties to that. And if you're having ties to that, then you have to work on the separation. And All right, I feel like this video has gone on for long enough. If you do have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you want it to be anonymous, I do have my email on my channel, so you can email me and I'll do like a separate video for your question. If you don't mind to give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it with somebody that you know who is going through eating disorder recovery, if that applies to you, it would be greatly appreciated, because my mission, the reason why I'm doing this, is because I want everyone to know that life outside of an eating disorder, aka full recovery, is 100% possible, and we are 100% capable of creating the life that we want to be living. I have other stories that I will be doing on videos about how I actually have like taken back times in my life that the eating disorder had previously taken away from me. I think my most amazing one was like my re-engagement. So yeah, the eating disorder robbed me of my engagement to my husband. So I decided that I was going to redo that and just have an engagement between my husband and I. And there's a twist to that story. But anyways, that's for another day. So if you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up, and more to come. Like I said, if you have any questions, please leave those below. And in the end, these are reasons why I think diets are stupid. They are. They're stupid. They're dumb. So ask yourself, is it worth going on a diet? Nah. Is it worth creating a relationship with yourself and your body that you're going to be in, and starting to love and appreciate and accept and nourish her appropriately, and like getting the tools and also the education behind what that actually means to physically, mentally, emotionally, and nutritionally support this beautiful being that is you? Yeah, that's where it's at. It's not dieting, okay? It's not dieting. It's not taking a GLP-1. It's literally this relationship with you. It's enhancing the relationship that you have with yourself. And part of having a relationship with yourself means you have to be in tune with and committed to how you treat this house that your spirit resides in. So have a great day. Much love.